You're listening to the Tech Addicts Podcast. This week, what's happening with Samsung Unpacked? There's a new hi-fi CD player from FiiO, a couple of new Ryzen-flavoured portable devices, the Poco Pad gets reviewed, and MediaTek going into your Galaxy Tab. Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts Podcast. I would be your host Gareth, and this is Ted.
Hello there, Gareth. Did you have a lovely mini early summer break?
I certainly did, and there's going to be another one coming because I just booked a holiday the other day. So we'll be going away at the start of August again.
No more podcasts again. We'll be lynched.
Well, you never know. It might actually be on the off week. I was trying to work it out this morning in the shower, if it was going to fall, and I think we should be okay. But
okay.
We'll see.
We shall see. Weather forecast is overcast, but warm and muggy, and not very pleasant, really. But yesterday it was lovely. It was pissing down with rain nearly all day.
Yes, similar here, and I went off to the Civic Immunity site with a couple of big bags full of grass and hedge cuttings that I'd left sitting out for the last 2 weeks since I cut them over the 12th of July. And the bottom was falling out of them, and there was mud and ick and water because it had been chucking it down from the heavens. And it was genuinely awful. Horrible to do gardening things in that weather. Yeah.
I can imagine. But I got very wet doing my steps. I walked down to Tesco's and it absolutely pissed down on me. Mind you, I dried out in no time.
But very you loved strange. It because that's what you like.
Yeah. It's just a really strange climate. This summer has been really odd in that respect. And I can imagine people that like the sun and like being hot are really pissed off.
Yeah. When we were looking at holidays, my wife actually suggested, Tunisia looks nice at this time of year. And it's like, it'll be 46 degrees.
Yeah.
You'll die? And then I thought, no, hang on a second. She won't because she's had the heating on in the evenings because they cool down a bit.
Oh, good grief.
I'll walk through the house and I'll think, is that the boiler humming? I think it is.
Yeah.
And it is. Madness. Anyway, technology, that's what we're here to talk about today.
Yes.
And we will try to do such a thing. We'll start with some of the feedback that we've had. We haven't. So we'll just move on to the interesting Linux findings that I've been playing with, because I am a Linux Mint convert from Windows 11, and I am feeling the need to maybe move from Linux Mint to something a bit more sophisticated, but I don't want to, get out of my depth too quickly, because that could happen. I'm still just enjoying Linux Mint, and with a new version of Linux Mint just around the corner, I might not move just yet. I'll wait until version 22 maybe, or maybe it's 23. I can't remember off the top of my head, but a new version's about to drop once they fix up some of the bugs that the most recent version of Ubuntu had included with it. But during that time, over the last couple of weeks of what I've been playing with, I'm very much using Immich as one of my main graphics or photograph repositories. If you think of Google Photographs or Apple Photos, I think it is.
Oh yeah, you mentioned Immich before, because I didn't get the name till far too late.
Because it's spelled I-M-M-I-C-H, not image, but Immich. This is a self-hosted Google Photos not wannabe, but copy, essentially. It really does take all of its cues from Google Photos. You would be hard-pressed to find differences in the two. And it's excellent. It's absolutely superb, and it works really well. It's a bit of a fiddle whenever they release an update to get it updated, because you have to manually do it yourself and with Docker enclosures and things like that, it can be, depending on what you're using, it can take a wee bit of know-how to be able to get it on there. But I'm getting quite good at it now, I think, and I've been using it for the last 6 months, maybe. Since I moved. In fact, maybe just before I moved, because this was the sort of thing that kind of made me open my eyes to, oh, there's better things afoot. But in the last week, they have now put out a licensed version where you can go and purchase a license, for which the community has kind of bitten back at the Immich people, developers, and said that license isn't really the right word. It should be more of a support thing, because there's no difference between licensed and unlicensed. You don't get any extra features if you purchase a license. It is more of a community support for the developers, and you can buy two, in inverted commas, licenses. There is a £25 one, which gives you a license to be able to use it on whatever hardware you're using, and then there's a £99 one, or sorry, the dollar, not pounds, $25, which works out £19, or $99, which works out at something else with an exchange rate, because that's not the one I bought, which gives your server access, or licensed stance for everyone who uses your server. But I figured I'll support them by doing the $25 one, which is £19, see how it goes, because I did that with Plex all those years ago, and I've never regretted it since. It was about 10 years ago. I think I got it for £30 or £40 for the lifetime pass, Plex Pass, and just seeing the price gradually rise, and people wishing that they could get into that, or having to take out monthly things or monthly subscriptions to access the Plex Pass exclusive features, then I just thought I'll be better off doing this now. I'll probably regret not getting the server one, because eventually my family will want to use it. At the moment it's just me, but that's all right. It's such a really good piece of software that I think when it comes to it, and if I was to ever trust it enough to be able to shed Google Photos and other backup solutions, and it become the principal backup solution, not the sole backup solution, I'm not that stupid, but the principal one, then I'll probably buy it for the $99 if that's still available, so that my wife and kids and things like that can use it as well. Because it sucks all the photographs and videos off your phone, sticks them on your NAS, and allows you to do things with them. There's duplicate finders, and there's facial learning. It learns people's faces and then tags them, and you can have albums like in Google Photos dedicated to people and animals and various things. You can search for cars, or you can search for cats, and it can distinguish those. It's just excellent. I thoroughly recommend it to anyone who has an inkling to possibly move away from one of the bigger companies harvesting your data from Google Photos or whatever Microsoft offers and Apple offers. If you've got the hardware, you should do this too. Ted, you've heard of it, obviously.
Yeah, well, you spoke about it before on this very podcast, but you hadn't, I don't think, gone so deeply into it. I think you just kind of found it at that point, and so you were kind of you were kind of saying you would feed back when you knew more about it, which you are doing today. So is this also available for anyone that has got Windows, for example, me, or is it completely Linux only?
No, I think you can run it on Windows as well. I'll have a look.
There's a Google Play Store badge and an Apple Store badge on the website, but not a Windows one.
It'll run on, well, obviously Linux, Kubernetes, Protainer, Unraid, all-in-one, TrueNAS. So I think it is more Linux flavored. Right. Maybe there isn't a Windows version, but you can. If you're running it if you're self-hosting it, then obviously you just need a web browser to be able to log into it and get the most out of it. Yeah. But yes, there are apps for your phone and things like that generally only work within your local network. Mm-hmm. So if you're on holiday, it won't back up your photographs until you're back home again, unless you open the door Well, this is the whole thing of security and privacy.
Yeah.
You can set it up to do that if you want, but most people would recommend that you don't, because that means exposing your NAS or your self-hosted server to the internet.
In which case you might as well let Google do that.
Well, you can get hacked quite easily and things like that,
Exactly,
where people will target and things like that. So you just wait until you get back, or you can run Tailscale and run it that way, which is what I do. And I'll go into Tailscale at some other juncture and have a chat about it then.
Well, I'm glad you're sticking with your Linux thing. It's a good learning process, and I'm sure that people listening to this will be really interested to hear what's going on as well, especially Ian Barton. Hello, Ian. I've been playing about with a Molto again. Do you remember we both bought into this and then it fell apart, and we tried to tell them and get support, and they were just hopeless. And we both gave them 30 quid or something like that. It's supposed to be a Skype call recorder, and it was just rubbish. So I went back to MP3 Skype recorder, which is now called desktop call recorder. And that's been working fine. But I thought today, because I got a new to me PC, which I bought from someone on the circuit, in order to get finally on my desktop Windows 11, I thought I'd give it another try. So it's running. We'll come back to it at the end of the show and see if it's still running or if it's fell apart again after an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever time it takes. So we'll see. And I was just wondering we both paid for this, but now you've gone all Linux. I wonder if you can still use your code, and could you use this still, or is it just for Windows?
I probably could. I could wrestle with bottles or wine or something like that and see if I could get it running. But Skype is a really ugly thing on Linux because it's not something that they really welcome. I only have Skype for this podcast and Projector Room because it's the easiest way. And whenever I get off my arse and actually spend some time with it, I'll be urging us to move over to Jitsi, because it's so much easier and so much safer to use.
Okay.
The Skype client itself, I always get errors whenever I'm doing my the apt upgrade thing through the terminal. It'll just go, I'm having trouble with Skype here. No, it's not wanting to upgrade that client that you've got there. And it's the one thing that sits there going, ugh. And Linux just, get that Skype thing off your computer while you can.
Yeah. Jitsi. How do you spell that?
Jitsi, Jitsi.
Okay.
It's a bit like Google Meet, but you only need web browsers to be able to use it. You don't have to have an installable client, and it does all the recording for you. And I've got it self-hosted, but I just haven't had the balls to record a podcast with it yet.
Right. Well, we'll try that.
It could cope a bit like a Molto after 45 minutes.
Yes. We'll come back at the end of the pod and see if it's still running. They may have fixed it, or it may work better with Windows 11 than it did with 10. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see.
No, I was using it on Windows 11. And
yes.
It would just silently crash in the background, and whenever you went down at the end of the podcast to stop recording, it wouldn't be there. It would have left. And it would have left a little note with a finger up going, I'm out of here.
I think it's a sign to say, don't record 2.5-hour podcasts.
Yeah, we could try and shorten it down. But then I have a problem where when my mouth starts moving and junk starts coming out of it, I find it very difficult to stop.
No, I won't have that said about you.
No, I'm saying it about myself. I say it about myself in private as well. You can't stop me doing that, can you?
Fair enough. Anyway, a Molto. There we go. I'll put a link in the show notes. And to Jiu-Jitsu, or whatever you called it.
Jitsi. All right. Well, you have an interesting conundrum that you wanted to pose as a question, I believe.
Yeah. I fancied a quick bant this time. And in banters, we'll bant about this. Just a realisation, really, how stupid I was being, is that this week I was looking for a ChromeBox solution, and I thought to myself, hang on a minute, I've got an old B-Link PC here, I could use that as my my ChromeBox and install Chrome OS Flex on it, and then it should work fine as a ChromeBox. Anyway,
why don't you install Linux Mint on it?
I started. Shush. quiet in the background. I started reading up about how there are so many compromises with Chrome OS Flex and updating problems and blah blah blah. Anyway, anyone's interested in that, read up about the compromises. So I thought I would get a ChromeBox off the shelf. I wasn't really going to, but it was just an exploratory exercise. And then I realised there were no Chromebook Plus models.
Shit!
Well, of course there aren't.
Sorry.
What have you done?
Has just come in through the skylight. I wasn't aware. I heard a bird, but sorry.
Yes. You pay attention. Listen to me. I listened very intently to you about all your Linux stuff. Now you've cleared off at the other side of the room, and people will think you're an ignorant git. Would you like to?
I've got Bluetooth headphones on. I can hear everything you say because Bluetooth works with Linux, unlike that bloody Microsoft.
Unlike your
I can
microphone,
even go down a letter into the house.
Your microphone was clearly not Bluetooth. Anyway, right, back on track. Why isn't there a Chromebook Plus model for Chromeboxes? And then, of course, the penny dropped. Of course there aren't, because the required specs of a Chromebook Plus, is that you've got to have a Core i3 or better chipset, for one thing, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, and, here's the key, a 1080p webcam and screen too. And so, because a Chromebox has got no screen and no webcam, it can't possibly comply. So there you go. Anyway, I'll put a link in the show notes to a post from Robbie back in June from Chrome Unboxed, and he did a kind of deep dive on that, exploring it more and pondering on the future of this problem. He was throwing the gauntlet down to Google, saying, if you're going to want to still sell Chromeboxes, then you're going to have to address this Chromebook Plus thing for Chromeboxes as well. But just an interesting exercise.
Well, no, I do agree with that as well. My Chromebook cannot be a Chromebook Plus because it has a 720p webcam, and that's a bit of a crappy thing to falter something on. It's got an i5 processor, it's got 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage, so it's almost more than capable of everything they could throw at it. Yeah. But it's got a 720p webcam, which is not something that was clearly outlined. No. Whenever you pick up a Chromebook, it rarely tells you. It just goes, it's got a webcam. Mm-hmm. Or it's got an HD webcam, as I think it might have been sold as. And a lot of people will have been sold an HD webcam because 720p is HD. Yeah. For them to change it to 1080p, yes, I can fully understand they have tracking and all those sorts of things. Getting the better image quality is paramount. But, I've had a wee go on my Chromebook's webcam, and it's pretty good, damn good for a 720 webcam compared to my wife's HP laptop that has a 1080p webcam on it. You have a look at the two videos, and the HP laptop is garbage, absolute garbage in that 1080p. It must be like 1 megapixel or possibly less, whereas the wee Chromebook, vastly better image quality at 720. That is a shortcoming for sure in those sorts of circumstances, but I suppose they had to draw a line somewhere, and some people will have a Chromebook with a crappy 720p camera on it, and then they'll be really frustrated with all the new AI tools, which is what Chromebook Plus was all about, being able to access all the Gemini advanced stuff and all that claptrap. So there are some inconsistencies going on with that whole Chromebook Plus thing. So watch out, you. Yes, watch out, you. All right. In the interim, whilst we were off cavorting and having a wonderfully relaxing time in the weather, aside from Ted, the Samsung company went and had their Galaxy unpacked, and they released a flurry of new devices, most of which are pretty much updates, some of which are vastly uglier than they used to be, but updates to their current array of bits and pieces out there, with one notable exception, which is a new technological line of products. Let's go with that. That's the easiest way.
Yeah.
So, without going straight to the new line of products, is there anything that really stood out for you in the updated bits?
No, not really. I think you're quite right. The Fold 6 and the Flip 6 phones are very much evolutionary improvements, inverted commas, thinner, squarer, lighter, boxier, just a kind of remake, really, of what's going on. The Buds 3 Pro, I don't know if you've seen in the press, but they delayed all those because there's something wrong with the tips that go in your ears. And so they've withdrawn the release date on that, and they've made it like a month later to fix it. So there's those.
Are they not all on sale at the moment?
No, you can't buy the Buds 3 Pro anymore. You can buy the Buds.
Right.
You can buy the Buds 3, the ones that are not the in-canal ear ones, but you can't buy the Buds 3 Pro until they've fixed all the tips, and they've presumably withdrawn all the retail boxes and changed them to be something else or something. I don't know. But apparently, what was happening was that when people pulled the buds out of their ears, the silicon thingy that goes in
exploded.
It was just staying in their ear canal.
Oh, that happened to me actually. That happened to me on a pair of Samsungs. I had to wait until I got home and get a pair of tweezers to pull them out.
Eek. So obviously it's not a new problem. But actually the Buds 3 I think look really nice. They look very Apple, of course, but they look really nice. The watches I think was what you were referring to, the wearables. I don't know if you want to take those on, do you?
Well, yeah, I have a bit of a conflicted feeling toward them at the moment. Obviously the Watch 7 is just an update of what they had before, and I don't think there's too much that's really needs to be reported on. It's
they've
just
taken
a
away
update.
They've taken away the rotating bezel, the bastards.
Well, we're getting the Galaxy Watch Ultra, which I remember when it was first hinted at, and we were starting to see renders and things arriving before the big unlaunched or unpacked event, and I echoed some of the thoughts that it is one of the ugliest watches out there. But seeing a lot of the various journalistic outlets ripping at a new one, saying how ugly it really is, it's really starting to grow on me. I think it's really quite cool. I like it. I'm changing my mind on it because it just looks like a proper chunky watch, and on my wrist it might actually work. On my wife's wrist, not at all. But Ted, you have big wrists like mine. Yours are exercised every morning, I think, with a copy of Razzle. So they're big muscular wrists that could very well work well with this type of watch, and mine too, through hard work and labour and whittling things with wood and that kind of thing. I have proper muscly wrists too. I think this would look really swell on there, and it's really growing on me. I like this watch, and I'm quite tempted by it.
It's the Casio in you.
It is. That's one of the things as well. Watching your man who does NAS compares, I've forgotten his name. He hates seagulls, but he has a splendid array of 1980s watches, and I do enjoy tuning in to see what he's wearing this week. I'm starting to like the idea of just something that's chunky and different, and if everybody hates this watch, I think that's why I'm starting to really like it, because it's chunky and different. No one else is going to have it because it looks awful on their wrists, which means it's the underdog, and I'm championing it.
Very good.
I want one.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah,
good
talk
for
myself
you.
into it.
I quite like the squircle thing. I think that I said that from the very first renders that were leaked, and everyone else was saying no, it's really ugly. But I think it looks really nice. The squircle thing. I think it looks nicer than the round one, to be honest.
Oh, you like it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, I don't like it anymore.
That's it. It's ruined for you. But I suppose the biggest news was the ring, wasn't it? And £400 worth of ring. And also, they're suggesting that people wear it on their index finger. I think that's really bizarre. I might be showing my age, I suppose, but wearing a ring on your index finger just seems odd to me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you can't wear it on your wedding ring finger because that's where your wedding ring goes, and replacing your wedding ring with this is going to be a tough call for whoever you're wedded to. Your middle finger is too big, more than likely, so you want to get a smaller one. You could put it on your pinky.
What about the other hand on your fourth finger?
That's weird.
Anyway, I think they're pricing themselves out of it, to be honest. Although I did see someone this week who said that they've been using it without a phone. So the Watch 7 and the Ring, they said that they can leave their phone at home. So that's the end of the phone.
Okay. Right.
I don't know. I'm a bit naffed off about what I said earlier, really. That is the Watch 7. The Watch 6 Classic, I've been holding off buying because I was assuming that the Watch 7, there would be a Watch 7 Classic with a rotating bezel, which I really like. It's physical and it's manual, and I think it's really nice. But it looks like the Watch 6 Classic line, it will be the end of it. Well, unless they're going to bring it back for the Watch 8, I suppose. So I'm now waiting for the Watch 6 Classic to drop in price.
No, I think the Ultra will probably occupy that position on the market.
Okay.
For the Season 7 going forward. Season 7.
Yeah.
I'm actually just looking at it here to see, if you can trade in an old device or an old watch, but my Samsung Galaxy Watch isn't on the list anymore.
Oh dear.
And I'm not going to take my wife's.
No. I've got a 5, so I could trade it in for a 7, I suppose. But that wouldn't get me the rotating bezel. I'm much more likely to wait until there's a sale on, because everyone's had enough of the 6 series and they're all on to 7, and I'll get a cheap 6 Classic with a rotating bezel.
Possibly, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that they don't drop in price that much, because I bought my wife a 4, I think. Mm-hmm. After the 5 was released.
Okay, let's see.
She's had it for
Galaxy.
It was quite expensive still.
Galaxy Watch,
but it
5.
Was cheaper.
Right, this is the very one I've got. Let's see how much it'll cost to buy now. Galaxy Watch 5, 40mm. No, it's not 40. It's a 43 or whatever it is. 40. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the 40mm one is 169 quid. That is dirt cheap compared to what it was released at. Absolutely stonkingly cheap.
It is, yeah.
So give it another 6 months. I reckon I'll get a cheap 6 Classic. The 6 Classic now. Whoops. 6 Classic 43mm is, how ridiculous. They put it up to 399 quid now. What's the lot? Oh no, that's the 47mm. The 43mm one, 369. In Prime Day the other day, this week, that was 249 quid, and now it's back up to 369. How ridiculous!
How ridiculous indeed.
I wonder if the Watch 7 is not out yet. Perhaps you can't get a Watch 7 yet, so they'll put it up when the Watch 7 is actually out.
Yeah. Possibly. Yeah, more than likely, yeah. And there still is pre-order on all of these at the moment, so...
Except the Buds 3.
Yes.
They're out there.
That's because of nastiness and getting it stuck inside your nose.
No, that's the Pro. So the Buds 3 Pro are completely withdrawn. But the Buds 3 you can currently buy next day on Amazon.
That's why they're on sale. Right.
Yeah. That's, anyway, it was quite an interesting little array of stuff. I'm looking forward more to the Tab S10, which we'll come to a bit later.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so we'll move forward. Actually, we're staying with you because you're going on about Google depreciating certain things in August.
Or even deprecating.
Next year.
Yes. Google... They're short. Do you ever use TinyURL?
I have done in the past, but not in a while.
Tiny URL I can remember using back in 1842, and it's still working. Google have decided that their goo.gl shortening a protocol, not only is it being axed, which actually they announced I think last year, but all of the links that anyone's done ever since it's been in existence will just all stop working. And that, to me, that is just naughty of Google. I know that they like killing off their products, but to retrospectively just kill off every single link out there that's a goo.gl link, I think that's out of order. I'll tell you what, the same thing happened to me. If you go to, not that anyone does, but if you were to go to the Whatever Works podcast show notes, right back to show 1, it's littered with links that don't work. Guess who by Google for the links that we had in Google Plus. Almost for the first 3 or 4 years, everything was in Google Plus, and all of those links are just completely dead now. And they're doing it the same with goo.gl. And then I consider what I said at the outset, which was that Tiny URL, which I use all the time, they don't charge anything. And they're still going, and I use it constantly. And I bet if they axed it, they wouldn't axe them, all the ones from working the back catalogue, as it were. Anyway, that's my rant over.
Yeah, I've always thought that at some point things like this have to happen. Things go away. Like, for example, if you go and sit and watch a YouTube video, and they have a sponsorship from like ExpressVPN or one of those types of companies, in a few years that company might not exist, but there's going to be thousands of videos, maybe even millions of videos across YouTube advertising them.
Yep.
And you have to sit through that advert for a company that is now defunct.
Yeah, a lot of things are transient, aren't they? A good example is to look back at Steve Litchfield's all about Symbian and all about Windows Phone, and but the whole back catalogue of all the data about everything is in there, and half of the links in there are dead and don't go anywhere. But I suppose Steve could say, well, we'll just ditch the whole back catalogue and it's not available to anyone, or it stays there as it is, which is what I've decided to do with the Whatever Works stuff. It's not doing any harm. It might be frustrating for some people, but it's not doing any harm, so leave it where it is.
Yeah. They're just the internet will be awash of dead links. I suppose this is one way that Google will be able to, whenever they're analysing web pages and things, they'll just be able to ignore the tiny URLs and move on, because there's the other ones as well. There was Bitly and things like that. And,
yeah.
They probably have to investigate all of those links, and it's wasting processing power, just going over and over websites again. I'll tell you one thing that actually happened recently. On this podcast, I got an email from Google saying that there was a potentially spammy link in one of the podcasts from like last year for that game. Remember the zombie game, the Dead Tomorrow or something like that, or it was a game that it promised the world and failed miserably, and whenever it did come out, it was programmed by a small group in Korea. I can't even remember what the game was called.
Sorry.
It was a big hubbub on Steam, and it was the most pre-ordered game, and then whenever it arrived, it was just rubbish.
Okay.
The Dead Tomorrow, I can't even remember what it was called, but I had a link in the show notes for that website.
Yep.
So that people could find out more about the game and find out what was going on, what we were banging on about, or at least I was. And Google's come back to me last week or 2 weeks ago and said, yeah, that leads to spam now. It's like, oh, well, what am I supposed to do? Go back through all of my links in the YouTube show notes, going way back until we were but fetuses, 1897, wasn't it, you were saying? And check all my links. and they said, we're not going to take any action against you this time. It's like, hold on a second.
Action against
Just because
you.
someone else has bought up that domain and put something spammy there, it's not me.
That's terrible, isn't
Yeah.
it? But yeah, I guess it is about saving processing and server space and just or maybe they've done some research and no one out there significantly uses goo.gl links, and so they thought, well, if no one's that's the Motorola argument. We're not going to update this phone because we detect that no one's using it anymore, or so
Yes.
few people are using it that it's not worth our bother. And so perhaps Google have decided the same thing. No one uses goo.gl anymore because tiny URL is so successful that everyone's using that.
The Day Before was the name of that zombie game.
Ah,
The worst rated game on Steam.
okay.
God, remember that? That was a whole debacle.
I'm glad you resolved that because that would have eaten away at you.
It would have, yes. And I have to go back and delete that link out of my show notes. I don't think I'll be doing that. Just don't click on it. Here, you've been told, if you're listening to this, don't click on that. All right, moving on. Hardline for the hardware. Okay, FiiO. FiiO are releasing a new device that looks really quite cool. It's a new hi-fi player thing that allows you to put CDs into it as well. Tell us more about it, because this looks great.
Well, it's like a CD Walkman, and who would have thought that a company such as FiiO or FiiO would be dipping their toe into the water with this, and it just looks lovely. Looks really stylish. Actually, it looks very Apple, if I'm honest. It looks very boxy with corners, Apple style. But it's got a lovely display on the front.
Apple and their corners.
You can put your headphones in the front. Well, actually, there's two lots of headphones. There's a 3.5 millimeter and a 4.4 millimeter. So they're kind of serving the geek and the nerdy crowd here. 8 hours of battery life, and also it's got Bluetooth built in, which is quite interesting. So unlike previous CD Walkman type devices, you don't have to, if you don't want to, plug in your headphones. You can send the stuff out to whatever device you want to send it out to, which is really interesting as well. It just looks really, really nice, and amazingly, it's likely to cost 149 quid, so I'm led to believe.
No way.
And why is this so cheap? It looks so lovely. And it looks like it's made of aluminium. I don't know if it is or not, but it's available in red, blue, titanium and black when it arrives. Who wouldn't buy one of these? I'll tell you who wouldn't buy one of these at that price. Is me, because I haven't got a single CD in my life. All of my CDs have gone, and I'm not going to buy one of these and start to buy CD. I did that with vinyl, and I'm not going to start doing it again with the 500 CDs or whatever it was that I used to have and got rid of back in the day, declaring that I'm going digital and I'm going streaming and I don't need these CDs anymore. It looks nice though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, absolutely. It'd be wonderful if it would work with... They do that, the digital music streamer thing. It's Android-based. You put it on your desk and you can stream all your music through it.
Oh, yeah. The 7,
quick
the
look
R7,
the
is
R9
it?
and R7,
yeah.
It'd be great if it like fit on the top of that or clicked onto the top and became a proper hi-fi system.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be beautiful. Lovely. I can't actually see this on their website for sale.
No, it's not available yet. It's going to be in I can't find the link. Oh, September.
Oh, right, okay. Well, that's not too far away. I suppose we can all wait for then. Incidentally, do you want a copy of Mumford & Son, JLS, or Doctor Who Season 5 soundtrack on CD? No? No? Okay. Anybody want them?
It's CDs. If this resurgence goes on, all the cheap CDs that are littered around Woolies bargain bins, they'll all suddenly be back up to full price again, like LPs are.
They're already there. Trust me,
Are they?
I'm on it.
Okay.
I'm watching. If you go to Reddit and DVD collections, you'll see people are starting to buy up as much in the way of DVDs as possible. And I'm way ahead of you. I've already. There'll be a video coming out this week on my YouTube channel boasting of this because I'm doing things because physical media is coming back, baby.
Right, fair enough.
And I would hate to be that person who got rid of like 500 CDs and now they have to repurchase them all again. That'll be really crappy.
Well, I just won't. But it's nice to look from afar at particularly at the hardware involved.
Well, thank goodness you didn't do that with DVDs. Ooh, that would really be a kick in the teeth.
Yes. Look, my DVDs all sit there in 4 big boxes, and I never touch them. And that's the same place I got to, you see, with the CDs. They were just sat there, taking up space, and I never touched them. And so you think, well, it's time to move on. But anyway, we'll see.
Well, see, I've been ripping a couple of 4Ks recently because I'm getting into that now, and I've been ripping with Blu-rays. But I noticed that on a couple of movies, they've had different audio commentaries, and obviously the licensing hasn't carried across for a commentary from one release to another. But I've been down to the shed and I picked up a copy of, say, Evil Dead. Evil Dead has no shortage of audio commentaries. And there's releases that have different audio commentaries. And I think this is really important because things are being lost. There's various different little documentaries or tidbits or deleted scenes or things that people have produced for a particular release of a movie on DVD. And whenever the 4K or the Blu-ray comes along, those are forgotten about, and they're gone. So I'm actually going back, and I'm gradually bringing up, like beside me at the moment, I've got Monty Python and the Holy Grail special edition DVD with a slidey case on it, but it's got a whole rake of extra features. And if you go and have a look at the 4K and the Blu-ray that were released, they don't have any of these.
Dragging you back away from projector room and DVDs and to CDs. The same was true of CDs as well, because I remember you would get bonus tracks on CDs, and presumably they will not, if they're not part of the formal release, then they wouldn't be necessarily out there and available on streaming services. So I think the same thing applies as to your DVDs, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. You get tracks. The last track of certain CDs can be like 35 minutes long, because there's 3 minutes of a track, then you have to wait 27 minutes, or 25 minutes, and then you get an extra 2 minutes just at the very end.
I remember that.
You go on and have a look on Apple, and that track isn't there. Yeah. So, hold on to your physical media, folks, and if you've got rid of it, go to the person that you got rid of it to and beat the crap out of them until they give it back to you, okay? And ex-girlfriends, if you'd lent an ex-girlfriend a CD or something, go back and get it. Take on her new husband, beat the crap out of him, and get that CD back. That's what you need to do, folks. It's worth it.
Yes.
Right. Another thing that's worth it is getting a portable keyboard and sticking a Ryzen 7 AMD processor inside of it. Ted, why would you do that?
Don't forget the story you skipped over there, because I'm quite interested in that one. But yeah, we'll come back to that. The foldable keyboard that you're referring to, it's an interesting idea, isn't it? So you make this foldable keyboard that you can put in your pocket, and it's a keyboard, as you'd expect. And inside the back of it, because it's quite fat, it's got all the workings of the mini PC, as we were saying earlier. The mini PC, it seems to be taking over everywhere. Everyone seems to be wanting to buy them instead of desktops and laptops now. And this just takes it a step further. It puts the whole of your mini PC inside a keyboard, and because it's quite wide when it's open up, it's got lots of space for lots of ports all around it. So they've got no excuse not to give you like 10 USB ports and 22 HDMI outs and all the rest of it. And also a power bank inside it. So Yeah, kind of interesting. I, I don't know if idea is going to take off, but I think it's just really nice that the the world of tech is developing ideas in a way that we didn't do or they didn't do during COVID, for example, where everything kind of came to a grinding halt. It's just nice to see people taking a few risks, and this just looks like an interesting idea, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah. It has battery for around about 10 hours of productivity,
Hmm.
if anyone can be productive for 10 hours. It can do 6 hours of entertainment, such as video streaming, and it's got 4 hours of gaming written on it as well. Not that it has a graphics card really built into it, but it has assisted graphics from the Radeon 760M, which is built into the Zen 4 processor of the Ryzen 7 8840U. You can get it with configurations of up to 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM and up to a terabyte of storage. So it is essentially a laptop sans screen, ready and raring to go. I don't see any imagery here for the back of it to be able to see exactly what outputs there are, whether it's got Ethernet, but it does have Wi-Fi 6 support, and it's got USB Type-C and Type-A ports. So perhaps it'd be great if it had power over Ethernet. That would be great.
And it's not that expensive, is it?
No, it's around about 400 quid or £321 for the base model, but it can rise up to 385.
It's really
Okay.
quite
So
cheap, isn't it?
It
If
is,
you could
yeah.
make it work for you. I mean, the only thing that's missing really is a trackpad. Oh no, it's not. There is a trackpad there. Can you see that? It's a tiny
Oh,
little
yes.
trackpad next to the cursor keys. That's really odd, isn't it? I still want a mouse, I think. But anyway,
What's it called? I can just about see on it. It says Ling Long or something on the
yeah, Ling Long. It must be
or
Chinese.
Ting Tong, is it? Fing Fong? No, it's Ting Long. Maybe it's Ting Long.
Okay.
I'm not being racist or anything here, because that's not actually what it says. I'm pretty sure it's something like that.
Bing Bong.
Ling Long. No, it's not a B. It's a Ling. It's. I don't know if it's Ting or Ling, but they haven't linked to the actual name of the product in the article over in Tech Radar, which would have been very nice.
Yeah.
But to be able to Google this and find it online would be terrific.
Yeah.
Oh no, it says image credit Ling Long, Billy.
Oh yeah, Ling Long. You're right.
Okay.
Billy.
Well,
Bill. How do you say that? Billy.
okay.
Right.
I'm on it. I'm trying to find this pocket size. No, we've got all kinds of media outlets covering it, but nowhere that you can actually purchase it.
No.
Right.
Yeah, 'cause I'm
The Billy thing is the actual video stream that they put it out on.
Oh right.
I'll stick a link into that so people don't have to go Googling too hard to find it.
Okay.
But it's very Chinesey.
Yeah. And you probably have to order it from AliExpress or something.
Probably.
Anyway,
But hopefully there might be a link in there.
while you're doing that, I'll go back to the previous story, which was the Miniproca mini PC. We're talking about mini PCs again, but this one is different because of one interesting and outstanding feature, which is that on the top of the box, it's got a fold-up. What is it? An LCD or an OLED? I can't remember now. It's got a fold-up screen, and it comes out the top. So you can either use that little screen if you're kind of mobile, or because one of the things that I've always thought about these mini PCs is that if you put it in your bag and take it with you, then you can't use it unless you've got a monitor somewhere or a screen, or you've got to carry another bit of kit with you in order to do anything with it at all, and also a power cable. But anyway, this one gets around that problem by, if you need to, you can fold up the little screen at the front, a 7-inch display, which I still can't see what sort of display it is, but it is a touch screen display, it says, and you can fold it up and use it when you're on that train or stuck in that airport toilet with a deli belly, and you can actually be productive wherever you are in more ways than one.
Yeah, I can't see whether or not it's an LCD or
No.
a black and white cathode ray tube or anything like that. It doesn't say. But it does look like a nice idea. The thing it doesn't do is it doesn't flip around 360 or 180 degrees to allow you to set it screen downwards.
Oh yeah, that would be a killer feature, wouldn't it?
So if you throw it in your bag, you'd probably have to have some kind of screen protector to make sure that this doesn't get scraped, scratched, or covered in goop.
Yeah. You're very smart, aren't you?
No, not in the slightest.
I'm still...
It has a Ryzen 6800 or 6900HX with which is Radeon 680M integrated graphics.
It's got to be...
But sitting between $1,300 and $2,000 is a bit rich.
Wow. I'm looking through the...
It looks nice, it does.
Yeah, I'm looking through the Kickstarter page, and even on there, no one's saying what the screen is. I can't find it anywhere. So I'm assuming it must be an LCD. I can't... They would be shouting about if it was an OLED, wouldn't they?
Yes.
Graphics, display output. No, nothing. Nothing at all. That's an LCD.
It could be, yeah. Well, it could also be a CRT. We don't know.
7-inch monitor screen. Yeah, they're just not saying what it is. I smell a rat.
Maybe there's one inside of it. Moving on to something that I think is going to be equally exciting for you, and that is a Bluetooth speaker that's built like a tank.
Whoa! Have you
Turtlebox?
Have you watched the video on this? It looks so much fun.
I didn't see a video earlier. Is there a video?
No, it's not. It's not on this site. I found one somewhere though. It was.
Oh.
It's just this huge lump and brick of a device, which is. You can submerge it in water and it'll still play underwater, and for 25 hours until the battery runs out. It's £10 in weight. What's that in kilos? About 2 kilos. Is that right? 2.2.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Why not?
2.2 pounds to the kilo. I don't know. Between 2 and 3 kilos, I reckon. And it's warm.
Is that imperial or metric?
One of those. No, that's old money. It's a...
Oh, right, it's a couple of guineas. Right, gotcha.
It's a bulky, heavy, absolute beast of a thing. It's called a Turtlebox, and it just looks... I mean, I've got no use for this, but, you take it down the beach and you chuck it in the water, and incidentally it floats as well. So if you end up chucking it in the sea, it won't sink, and you can just see all the water going in and out of it on these images. It just looks like great fun. I dread to think how much it costs, but I've no doubt it's outrageously priced. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh no,
$400.
$400 is it? It just looks like a lot of fun to me, and I bet it sounds fantastic. Because if it didn't,
it's not made from actual turtles, but it does float.
Yeah, that picture of it floating it looks great. I love the whole idea of this. I think it's great. I wish I had a use for it. And then when you go back on the beach, you just cover it in sand, and when you want to go home, you just put it back in the sea and wash it off again. It looks great. Love it.
Yeah, but don't forget, you say, I wish I had a use for it, but if it becomes available in the UK and you can get it on 5 different payments, you don't need a use for it. You'll just buy it anyway and set it in the corner of your boudoir to entertain the ladies.
It could sit down next to my powerhouse thingy, which actually that powerhouse thingy is useful because when there's a power cut, I've used it 2 or 3 times, so I won't complain. Anyway, this is the Turtlebox Gen 2. I don't even remember the Gen 1, but that looks great. I love it. This should appeal to your Casio side.
Yeah, but you can't wear this on your wrist, so if you did, you'd probably give yourself a hernia.
Yes.
All right, moving on to the Poco Pad, which is a type of tablet, and it's been reviewed over on GSM Arena. And I think the general consensus is this is quite good, is it not?
It is. They do quite like it. There are various pros and cons that they're mentioning, like it's an aluminium body and the loud Dolby Atmos 4 speakers, and they seem to like the Magic OS. Is it Magic OS? No.
I think.
Oh no, it's
that's
Harmony, isn't it?
Honor.
Yeah,
Harmony.
That's right. And they seem to like that. It's got a memory card slot, which these tablets tend to have these days, and a 3.5mm audio jack, which they don't tend to have these days. It's not got a very good camera, but then you wouldn't want a camera with this, would you? And the keyboard, they're saying, if you want to add a keyboard to it, then the firm is kind of overcharging for that. I haven't got the detail of that in front of me, but yeah, it's 256 gigabytes of storage and 8 gigs of RAM. It's got a Snapdragon 7S Gen 2, which is okay, better than many tablets out there. It has got an LCD display, but it looks really nice. It's got aluminium all over it, stylus support, and it's got a magnet for that, and fast charging, inverted commas, at 33 watts. Looks quite nice. You're the tablet fan amongst us. What do you think?
I think for the money it looks absolutely spectacular. $350 or €350, which is, if you were to convert that and buy it in the UK, it'd probably be about £1,000. They mark it down for it's not got fast charging or very fast charging, as they put it. The camera quality is mediocre, and as you say about everything else there, it looks like a really good, logical choice for anyone who wants to get a tablet and doesn't want to have to pay what Samsung is asking for theirs.
Yeah,
I couldn't fault this really at that money. No,
the only way
I'd be dead excited about it.
The only way I can fault it for me personally is that I really don't like what Xiaomi Poco do with Android. The whole UI, just whenever I try a Xiaomi phone or a Poco phone, I just give up because it's just too far. But as we've said before, if you have a device for 2 years, you're going to get used to it, and it'll be absolutely fine. It's just me. It's just me, I say.
But most of these really take their influences from Apple, and then mix that together with Android. All tablets that come out really operate the same way. They just have things laid out slightly differently and have a few specific apps that they have built into them to make life a wee bit easier. And you'll just get used to it. If you have a Samsung Galaxy tablet that you're upgrading to this, you'll probably have no issues. If you're dumping Apple and moving across to it, it'll take you a minimal amount of time to actually step up. You know, having a look at the settings menu in some of the screenshots that the chap...
the settings are all over the place.
Well, they have the same kind of settings as the iPad, you know, where you drag down from the top and you amend your bits and pieces from the notification shade. And it looks very iPad, even the toolbar at the bottom.
Yeah, it's called the control panel, isn't it? And even Samsung are going that way now. Motorola have gone that way. They're just all copying Apple. It's really annoying.
So you know how the Apple works. This will work.
Yeah, I know why they're doing.
But it'll have things more logically laid out the way Android does. You know, I hate, my mother has an iPad, and I hate it whenever she says, "Oh, I've got an issue with my iPad and I have to go around try and sort something out," because the settings are, yes, if you're used to iPad, you'll know where to find them, but they're not laid out like a logical mind would lay them out. You know, having to go into general to find Wi-Fi instead of going somewhere else. It's just not indicative of a well laid out system.
I agree.
I think. Yes.
I agree wholeheartedly.
This will have that laid out system,
and with gusto
that you can probably get behind,
and enthusiasm.
Yes. So that's a good option for anyone who's heading out to buy a new tablet. But you could, if you have a bit more spondulix in your pocket, to drop on tablet hardware, you may be best waiting for Samsung to drop their next incarnation of the Galaxy Tab. Ted? No,
the
Tab.
Galaxy Tab. Excellent.
One day they're going to do that, I'm sure. Probably won't work very well. Probably come with all kinds
Bore everyone shitless.
It'll be broken as you take it out of the box. Yeah, the S10 is getting some early rumors regarding what's going to be inside of it. Ted, do you want to take over this?
Yeah.
It's your namesake.
The big news, the big news is that for the first time that there's talk about Samsung going with MediaTek chipsets, and notably the 9300 Plus, which absolutely no doubt will be high flying, and they would have done their research on it if they do this, and it will work absolutely fine. They've obviously shied away from the Exynos whole thing, and for some reason, probably money, well, definitely money, they're going to go to MediaTek and see what they can do with them. I just hope that it's going to perform as well as my Tab S8 is still going great guns here. I've got no complaints about it at all. That's got a Snapdragon chipset in it, and it just works absolutely fine. The S10 allegedly is going on sale in October at the next Unpacked event, no doubt, and they reckon that the rumours say that all three devices, the Plus and the Ultra and the baseline one, will have these MediaTek chipsets in them. I have to say that when I've had a MediaTek chipset in devices, it's been okay. The lower end ones are obviously, you can tell the difference in terms of speed, but if you get up into these top end ones, and they all seem to be perfectly good enough for me. I've tested those with Motorola devices recently, and they just seem fine. So maybe this is a smart move, and if they pass on the savings to the consumer and not the shareholder, then maybe everyone will be happy.
I think so, yeah. It does make sense utilising some of these other ones, because they'll probably get a better deal as well, where the likes of MediaTek will be happy to get massive production going. So yeah, it should shave down the price tag. I don't know that Samsung would actually pass that on to the customer, because they seem to be quite happy with their price points, but being able to shave off a bit of production price and capture a larger profit on every device that they sell, when most people are quite happy just to pick anything up. I think both my Samsungs have Exynoses in them now. They're not Snapdragons. Maybe my tablet has some Snapdragon. I'm not sure.
Right.
I don't really care, to be honest.
No.
I don't notice that performance difference in my day-to-day life, because it doesn't really impact me.
No.
Because I charge them both daily, and I'm not playing major games. I just use them as most normal people use devices like that. So I don't need the all singing, all dancing processor, and don't care if it's in it or not. So I think that'll pass on to most people here.
Yeah, but even if you are a big gamer, then if they do this, they would have tested all that, I'm absolutely sure. The big thing about the Exynos versus Snapdragon with phones was always about battery, and I have to agree that the battery life on my Snapdragon Galaxy phones has always been better than the equivalent with Exynos chipsets. We had this discussion before, I know, but I think that's what it's about. It's more about that than to do with performance, and maybe some other kind of. Anyway, I'm sure that they will do it properly.
Yeah. Oh no, they will, and ultimately, I don't think for the majority of people it will really matter. They'll just be happy with whatever they get. They know it's Samsung, so they'll be getting a good device.
And most people are just not going to be pushing like you said just now about iPads. You know, most people that buy a tablet are just going to be surfing the web anyway, aren't they?
Yeah. So, moving on to the next topic, which is, well, once again, it's Pixies. Yes, we get to talk about Pixies.
Yeah.
We love talking about Pixies on here. We don't talk about them terribly often. But this one is, in fact, the Pixii Pixii, which is launching a new 24-megapixel Pixii Max. And it's a full-frame rangefinder. Ted, you'd be excited about this.
I would.
And I do love that little camera with the tiny little lens on it.
£4,000.
Ouch.
£4,000. This French manufacturer, Pixii, they produce this. I mean, it looks absolutely lovely. It looks like they're challenging Leica and Fujifilm big time, but taking it a step further, making it a full frame camera. Differently to the Fujifilm X100 series, it's not got a fixed lens, so you can add lenses onto the front of it, but it's full frame. And also, they've done this rangefinder thing. I love rangefinder. I don't know if you've ever used a proper rangefinder camera, Gareth, but
No.
back in the day, it was just so nice because it was you got an optical viewfinder, but the clever ones overlaid measurements inside the frame, so you could, if you were using a 28mm lens, you used a different line in the optical. Well, they're doing this, but they're overlaying, like Fujifilm have done, an LCD in there, so that they can not only make it automatically adjust for the lens you've got in use electronically, but also if at some point in the future there are new lenses, then they can write that into the software to make all that happen. If you've ever looked through a Fujifilm X100 series viewfinder, you'd just be gobsmacked. It's so amazing. It's wonderful to use. I really, really wish I'd not sold mine. But as I say, this one is a step up because it's full frame and it just looks lovely. And that's all I have to say about it, really. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be challenging Leica and the likes. The people that are going to buy this are the people that can afford to have a £4,000 full-frame, lovely Leica-style camera kicking about and probably, sadly, not use it. They'll probably have it on a shelf, so when people come round, they can say, ooh, that's lovely, isn't it?
I'm sure they will. Yeah, absolutely. No, it looks like quite a dazzling wee camera. Yeah, and you're quite right about the Fujifilm X100. That would be nice. You can pick them up for about £500 now.
Well, I'd like to see where you found that. It depends on which one. The newest one, the V. I had the F, and the F one you can't get for love nor money anywhere. The V is £1,500 or £1,600 new if you can find it anywhere, because they purposely underproduced them to generate demand, and they were doing some naughty tricks with that, really. Anyway, I had the F.
The S.
Yeah, the S is before the F, so the S is an older one. Have you found that at £500?
Yeah,
No,
well, $599.
No, I don't know in that one if it's got the clever, all of the bells and whistles in the viewfinder that the F one had, because my F one had them all. And if you go to the V, it might have even more by now. I don't know. Anyway, there you are.
There's the VI as well.
Is there?
And the T.
I've never heard of the VI. Yeah, the T, that was a later one. I think the T came after the F. No, the T came after the S. And the... Anyway.
All right. Moving on. Ted's just listing letters now. Okay, it's like an episode of Sesame Street. Although they make more sense than us. Right, okay, so moving from one thing to another, in the Wearables Watch area, we are going to talk about smart glasses, because there is a new set of smart glasses that are coming out with a built-in camera and GPT-4o support. These are from Solos, and they're called the Ergo Vision, which look kind of swish. They've got very obvious cameras, but they've got a nice build idea to them, and they sort of come apart, and you can charge the legs independently. I think they've got USB Type-C built into the legs for charging. They look to be priced around about $250, and you can get the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses, which are $299, but these look kind of cool. What can you tell us about these? Can you do too much with them? They've got Gemini installed.
Yeah, well, not in. Yeah, it can make use of Gemini and the new Claude AI, which apparently, incidentally, was released on Android this week as a standalone Android app. I did install it, but then they wouldn't let me use it until you coughed up a monthly amount of money, so I quickly uninstalled it again. Anyway, all these AI tools are built into it. What I don't get, if you look at the second picture down, the arm seems to come out, and then underneath it, you get access to the camera. Or are they suggesting that you could change the camera to something else?
No, I think the camera just folds at a 90-degree angle. Whenever you open the legs to put them on your head, the camera looks through a hole in the glasses front. So you might be able to change the front of the glasses and just put the legs on something else, because the cameras are where all the brains are.
Okay. And also, it looks like you can take you can have different arms on them, and presumably the batteries in those arms, and they've got a USB-C connector in the next picture down, and they've got the two arms off. But I don't know if the battery's in there or not. But yeah, they're undercutting by £50 the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, so they're $249. There's no visual stuff going on in these, unlike the previous model. Apparently, the Solo Air Go. I think they used to have a display that kind of looked. You could see it in front of you, but these ones don't do that. But there are some LEDs that confirm incoming notifications and that sort of thing. So yeah, it does look interesting. As always with when we talk about smart glasses, being a glasses wearer, my question is always about prescription lenses and whether someone's has thought about that, and when you know whether that makes it easy or loads more expensive, because not everyone in the world has got 20/20 vision.
Yeah. Are these designed for anyone who actually wears glasses, or are they designed for people who don't wear glasses, and that's just a piece of glass in there? So the main part of these, which people are going to use, is the variable. So you'd need to be able to knock out those glasses. Can you go into an optician and say, I want prescription lenses for these glasses? Can you hand them over and they'll take them away and do that?
Apparently, according to someone in the group who we were talking to about this, apparently you can.
Right, okay.
I didn't know that, but yeah, but you'd have to be without them for a while. So you've got to trust your smart glasses to the opticians and not to break them and drop them and tread on them.
Yes, but whenever you get the glasses back, then you'll have your prescription. But is that going to cost you extra money on top of it? So you have to pay $250 for this, and then however much it costs to get the lenses made and molded to fit into these frames.
Yeah, I think that will be the way it's done, which makes them more expensive. I think that if I was going to buy a pair of smart glasses, I'd rather pay £50 more and get the Meta ones, frankly. I'd have more confidence in those. But I could be completely wrong. The Solos company might be streets ahead of Meta and doing it differently and better.
Better Meta. Well, what you could do is just install it on your phone and walk around with your phone in front of you, holding it up.
Yes.
With the camera on.
A fiendish idea.
Terribly. Right, okay, so if you are going to buy... Oh, we didn't even cover it. Flippin' heck.
What?
In the Samsung Unpacked thing. The Samsung Galaxy Ring.
Oh, the sizing kit. Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't talk about
this sizing kit. We did briefly talk about the ring, because we said about what finger it goes on, if you remember. Try and keep up at the back.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, right. So much has happened since then.
This sizing kit, right, this is the way it works. If you want to buy a Samsung Galaxy Ring, you have to go onto the Samsung website and you have to place your order, and then when you've placed your order, they send you a plastic set of rings, and then you see which one fits you. You then send the plastic set of rings back to them, having already paid, of course, don't forget, and then sometime later, an undisclosed length of time, no doubt, they will send you your Galaxy Ring for the size that you've identified that your finger is. And that just seems to me to be an awful long way around doing it. Now, if you want to, that all applies to if you're buying the ring from Samsung website themselves, actually from Samsung Direct. If you want a kit to do this from anyone else, like buying it from Amazon or something, they're going to charge you apparently another 10 quid to send you the kit to do it. So it's going to cost you 10 quid more anywhere else apart from with Samsung. Anyway, it was just quite interesting. I was always wondering how on earth they were going to do the whole sizing thing. That's how they do it, as previously described.
And you can just sort of save time by walking into a ring store, using their ring measurement thing for free, and then writing to Samsung, "Dear Mr. Samsung, I am a size 13. Can you please..." I don't... Are these the same as universal ring?
No.
Things?
No, because the universal rings go from up in the letters to Z, so they're numbering these and not lettering them. So it's obviously their own system.
All right. Well, that's another reason not to get one.
But
I'm terribly excited about these ring things.
The first reason being 399 quid.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Well, someone somewhere will. And more power to them. If this works for you, if this fits, then good news.
If the ring,
it's just popped into my head. Obviously, someone's going to attach this to another appendage that.
Yes. If the ring fits, wear it.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Okay. Moving on. The Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold is one of the wordiest titles I've said recently. And there's a possibility it could be coming in about 4 weeks' time. We could see something around about August the 13th, according to Google themselves. What can we expect with this? Is there anything to get excited about?
Not really. I think we know everything, except that it's just been confirmed. And this video shows the thing folding and unfolding. And when it's open, it's more like a portrait orientation than landscape, as we know. But the problem I've got with it is that the bar across the back that held the camera on the existing Pixel Fold is now been turned into a great lump of a thing, like it's some Oppo thing or something. I don't know. It just it looks like something that Samsung were doing a few years ago, but these great big lumps sticking out the back. I don't get that at all. I realise that underneath there's a screen, and they haven't got much room to play with. Okay, fair enough, but I don't want that lump. That's the first thing I didn't like about having the Pixel Fold, was that great big unsightly lump on the back. And it's just like, the same thing is true of the Microsoft Surface Duo 2. The Surface Duo 1 was great because you could fold it back on itself and it worked lovely. The Surface Duo 2, again, great big lumps stuck out the back. Don't like it. You can take your Pixel 9 Pro Fold and stick it where the sun don't shine, per Google.
Well, it might not fit with that big lump sticking out the back of it, but I happen to think that over the years they have redone that lump, and it makes it look an awful lot better than it has been. You know, if they had come to this whenever they were doing, say, the Pixel 6, wasn't it? That was the first time they had the big lump sticking out, or was the Pixel 5?
No, not the 5.
It would have been. Or was it the 6? Yeah. That would have been a tragedy in that mould. But I think, given what we have now, that it's on the back of one side of it, so it's actually not really all that big. And because they've moved it, that it occupies, there's two cameras sort of sitting parallel to each other, above and below, as opposed to being stretched out across the whole back. It only occupies half of the back side of the fold. So I actually think it's a lot smaller than it could have been. I quite like it. It doesn't jut out as much as the Pixel 9 Pro and the Pixel 9. It seems to be a wee bit more flush. But obviously these are just from renders that I'm looking at. I think it's a wee bit better. I like it. As for what it could have been.
Do you reckon they're going to break the £2,000 barrier?
Yes, yes, I do.
Yeah.
You know, Google needs money. They're always running out of money. Is that Google company, and that's why they have to get rid of so many projects over the years. You know, they're always trying to slim down their. And in order for them to invest more into Google Assistant, so it actually works, they're going to have to sell this for about £2,000.
Yeah, or Gemini as it is now. The only thing about the price is that they know that the Galaxy Fold 6 is £1,900. So I wonder if they'll want to make this more than that. I don't know. They might try and make it the same, and so that they're not seen to be, being silly about it, but sticking to what Samsung.
Well, yeah, the Google executives are just like us. They have to pay for milk and bread, and the prices of milk and bread are rising in the shops. So they're going to have to charge you more for these devices so that the CEOs can buy more milk and bread.
There's a psychological barrier, though, I think, with when it gets to £2,000. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 19.99 and just under, But I think personally, let it be set on record that I said I think that it'll be £18.99, the same as the Fold 6, but we shall see.
Yeah, wasn't it the Nexus One that came out at something like £250, and people were like, "Ooh."
No, the Nexus One.
£299.
No, the Nexus One I bought. I imported it from America, and it was £499. It was the biggest amount of money I had spent on a phone at that stage. Yeah. It might have been $499 actually, but it was $499 something. While you got a free one, did you? You bastard.
We're going back to guineas here. It was 499 guineas.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that are 499, that's one thing ahead. Oh, can't do that, Slinky Link. We'll come back to that later on. But remember, people, whenever I'm talking about 499, there was one there.
Yeah,
because we've got to talk about something beforehand. Yeah, we've got nothing to talk about now.
Nothing at all to talk about now.
This is the nothing CM.
Yeah, the CMF phone, the one that you can screw the back off and screw the back on and screw whatever you see with the camera with it. Because apparently there's something up with one of the lenses in the camera on the CMF, the Nothing CMF Phone 1, where some smart-ass user found that the depth, one of these cameras is a depth sensing camera, and you can use it to see through things, and including sheets on beds.
Ooh, cool! Right, I'm gonna buy one of
and the user in question who proved this was able to see, through a bed sheet. They didn't see human flesh, but they did see. They put a newspaper under it, and they could clearly see through it. So now Nothing have backtracked on it, and they've done something to the camera to fix that, so that people can't peer and perv with it.
They've installed Japanese style pixelation. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry that thing spoiled your 499 fun.
It has, but I'm still quite interested. I must have skipped over this whenever I was going through the show notes earlier as well, because I didn't actually notice we were talking about this at all. I'm completely lost by the Nothing CMF Phone 1. My daughter's boyfriend, I believe, is buying one, but they're not terribly expensive. They're about £250.
No, £179. But I hope he doesn't want to pay in Tesco with it, because the big omission appears to be the NFC. It hasn't got an NFC chip in it, which means that you can't use it for any NFC activities, obviously.
Ah, right, okay.
You better tell him. Tell him quick.
I suppose I should.
The fun bit, though, is the stuff you can screw on the back. And if you watch the videos, and you can take the back off and put a new back on. They haven't gone the whole hog like Fairphone have, though. You can't replace the battery. And I think I got a feeling I saw somewhere you can replace the camera module. But anyway, it's not as far as Fairphone have taken it. But they've made it all fun and bright colours, and you can put a lanyard thingy on a screw hole on the back. It does look, I must admit, it does look quite good fun. So And
Yeah.
it's really cheap. It's cheap enough to be a second phone, really. Well, for some people.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is. It's a good price, I suppose, but obviously not being able to or tap to pay is going to be a big setback for many a folk.
Really odd.
But you'll never guess what price the aluminium Analogue Pocket is going to be released at.
Do tell.
Oh, well, it's not going to be $250. No, it's $499.99, which is roughly the same price as what Ted paid for his Nexus 1 many years ago. Now, this is a new Game Boy style cloney thing that allows you to run various different emulators built off of Android. And it's a really rather nice looking design. Ted, you are always looking for something that is a bit closer to the Game Boy than what's available now. This must tickle your fancy.
My problem, as I think I've said before, is that when I realised how small these things are, the Game Boy was big, it was chunky. My hands, which were probably not far off the size that they are now when I had one, it was absolutely fine. My fingers worked fine with it. But these ones are not the size of a Game Boy. They're just much smaller. I haven't actually tried one, to be honest, but I can imagine that my fingers are going to be crunching the buttons. They're made for child's hands, going by the specifications. But what I do like about it is it's really, really classy looking. I mean, making one of these out of aluminium with a kind of Sony feel about it throughout, Sony style buttons and aluminium, or the buttons we used to get on Canon cameras, Canon DSLR cameras and SLRs, where they were domed, lovely feeling buttons. The whole thing here for me is about the build style and the design language, and it's just really, really nice. But £500, they can stick it.
Well, you'll probably see it in sales or whatever. You'll be able to get it off AliExpress at a good bit cheaper than that. But it does look very nice. They're tapping into that which was popular, and that would be kind of cool.
Very, very nice. I'd love one. You can buy me one because you're so rich.
Not in the slightest. I've been debating getting myself a Steam Deck, and I can't afford one of those. They're just too expensive for dedicated gaming. You know, I'm older now and wiser and stupider, and the same step, which is pretty good. Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Okay, Microsoft. We're going to go into Microsoft because we're talking about gaming here. Because Microsoft now have given the Notepad spell checker, which is in the name of the game section. I'll point that out to you, Ted, in the show
No,
notes.
it's not.
There.
It's in Flap Your Trap About an App. Try and keep up.
Oh yeah, we were talking about the. Oh yeah.
Yeah, have you taken something this morning?
Well, I should have. I wish I had. You'd think I had, given how
You've been
badly I'm doing at hosting
something.
this show. Just out of practice because we missed one a couple of weeks ago. We'll put it down to that. Right, okay, so Microsoft and Flappy Trap About an App have added spell check to Notepad, and they've also put in autocorrect as well, which is kind of cool. Aside from if you're using Windows 11, in which case, what?
No, it does work in Windows 11. I was testing it this morning just to double check on the story, and it works beautifully well in Windows 11. And yeah, it's a nice enhancement to Notepad. Notepad has always been like you open it, you type something into it, and you or copy something into it to rip out formatting, and then paste it back where you want it to be. So there's nothing. So that's what most people have used Notepad for, I think. And it didn't save anything for you. You had to save it as a TXT file if you were going to save it for anything. This now auto saves your work. It also gives you it's got a tabbed interface, so you can have different tabs and save all sorts of stuff across the whole Notepad environment you want to. The spell check and the autocorrect do work on my computer, which is now set to English UK, which is another story. It's checking language properly, spell checking and auto-correcting when I make an error, blah, blah, blah. Works really nicely, really well, and I've got it set to white text on black, which works really nicely as well. it feels like a nice evolution. And I'm trying to think what I can use Notepad for now that it's got all these bells and whistles to replace something else. And I can't quite get there yet because it's not quite Google Keep. But when you're sat at your computer, I just think it's a nice resource. Have you had a play with it?
Nope.
Right, moving on.
All right, okay. Well, I figured this would probably be a great time during the show to do an Amalto check. Is it still recording?
Yes, it is. 1 hour and 36. So it's still going.
Oh
Hurrah! Hurrah!
Flipping heck. We'll have to write to the developers and say, congratulations, you've managed to fix something so far.
Yes.
Let's touch wood. Right. The last section we're going to go to before the bargain basement is in fact the Google Gallows and Chrome Coroner section, Ted, where you get to tell us all about the happenings of Google and Chrome over the last month, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I picked out a few things. One of the interesting things is that Google Wallet can now be accessed on a web browser in full, and that's actually quite nice. So if you go to wallet.google.com, you can, if you're signed into Google, of course, it'll throw you up a page that is an expanded version of all the stuff that you normally see on your phone. Tells you what you spent money on, what cards you got registered, blah, blah, blah. Just useful for those of us that spend a lot of our time in front of a Windows computer. So that's quite a nice addition. And they've also made it available to 13 countries as well as ours.
Even countries you're not in at the time?
Good question, yeah. I wonder what happens then. It'll detect that you're there and change the language, no doubt. We spoke about Lacrosse, the experiment by Google on Chromebooks, which they brought about some couple of years ago, I suppose, in order to try and remove Chrome the browser from Chrome OS on Chromebox on Chromebooks.
Right, yeah.
And we talked about it on this show, and we installed it, and it seemed to work, and there was zero difference really to the user. The idea for Google was that they could keep it separate so they could update it more readily than whenever they had to prior to that, they had to only update it when they updated the whole OS. This was going to give them the ability to update it on the fly. Anyway, guess what? Google have decided that they've had enough of that. They're going to ditch it, and Lacrosse is... they've assigned Lacrosse to Lacrosse.
Yeah, that's very good. They're running out of money.
Yes, indeed. And so the reason being that they've said that they are baking in the Android OS so tightly now with Chrome OS that they see a merging of the two in the end anyway, and that the whole Lacrosse thing was just getting in the way. My next story is about Gemini tricks, and one or two in particular actually, because I was playing with this in the week and I was amazed at how well it was doing. Normally Gemini is a bit shit, but it actually worked quite well. Summarising your emails. So if you go to Gemini, and I'm talking about on the desktop here, I don't know about on mobile. If you go into Gemini and type in @Gmail and then tell it to investigate your Gmail email, you can ask it logic questions about your email, and furthermore you can get it to summarise what's going on with groups of email and draft responses. And I was just quite surprised at how well this worked. So for example, you could put in @Gmail, give me a summary of the emails I've received in the last week about
Pornhub.
Yeah, Pornhub. And it will then give you a summary of that, and that was working really well. So as long as you give Google, the Gemini, the permission to investigate your other Google products, it will be a useful tool with Gmail. And furthermore, it will find specific emails. So it said, you can say to it things like, when did I last send an email to so-and-so? And if you've ever tried to do that inside the Gmail on web, it's just crap. It's such a bad search engine, which is amazing for Google, isn't it? But inside...
Google is a terrible search engine in general.
Amazing, isn't it? But they set themselves in business just to be a search engine, and it's crap. I mean, if you ever, particularly on Android, if you try and find something in calendar on Android, it will only find things like a month either way. Anyway, that's just rubbish. But yeah, the other thing that I was going to say was that you can do draft emails. So you can say, draft me a response to the email from Gareth today, and then it'll go and find the email and draft a response. And again, that was working really well. And lastly, it can turn emails into actionable data. So I did this with a thing about hospital visits. I said, can you find all my emails about hospital visits this year? And then on the back of that inquiry, you can say something like, organise the above information in a table with dates. And I was amazed, it did it. It made a table, and it made the dates of the hospital interactions and visits and appointments, and it did it all in a table. It worked really well. I was quite surprised at at Gemini, because up to now I just thought it's a bit rubbish. It's particularly rubbish in my last bit of Google Gallows and Chrome Coroner, because it still hasn't got my Gemma Chan back. We've got one male voice. Now, the male voice is a British one, I will admit, but I want Gemma Chan back. And the news here is that it is coming. They're testing out a second voice. I'm not sure what the second voice is going to be, but that at least they are trying to get the voices across from Google Assistant into Gemini. So they've made some steps towards that. But anyway, there you go. That was my Google and Chrome.
So, rolling back just to some of the Gemini bits, the turning your emails into actionable data, actionable data. You could basically go into your Gmail and then target everything that is a sale. So where you've maybe bought something,
yes,
and you could turn that into a table of everything that you've purchased.
You could, and
that could flow into Google Sheets. Really,
I don't know. I'm not sure if you can then put the table into Google Sheets. You might be able to. I haven't tried that. So yeah, you're quite right. So you make a table of all that stuff, and then say to Gemini, save this in Sheets. I don't know. Need trying.
Yeah, because I do a monthly budgeting thing, and as I'm going through, I'll go through Amazon and go, right, okay, I bought that and that and that, and put them in so I know my ins and outs during the month. But it would be great to be able to get something that does it somewhat automatically.
Yeah.
And you can get an idea of just how much you've really spent on Amazon. Because Amazon don't make it easy either. If you go in and have a look at your previous orders, you have to actually go in and click on the invoice to see how much you ended up paying for shampoo. Rather than just be able to see it in a list of, I spent £7 there, I spent £8 there. But if you've got all that going into your Gemini could then scan through and be able to go, here, you bought that, you bought that, you bought that. You've pre-ordered that.
Right, here we go. Here's a live test. When did I buy the Nexus 1? No, it's not returning me an answer on that. Gmail.
Maybe you don't have it recorded in that.
How much did I pay for the Nexus 1? Finding your emails, assessing emails. How much did I pay for? It's thinking about it. Tick, tick, tick. I could. Oh yeah, here we go. Yep. No, that's not right. It's telling me that it's given me a list of things I bought from Google Store, which is a first step, I suppose. But it's only going back to 2000. Oh, hang on, show more. No, it's only going back to 2016. What about before 2016? And it wasn't finding the Nexus 1, but it was finding Google Store purchases. And now it's thinking about my new demand. There are no... Well, that's not true. It says there are no emails earlier than 2016 in your Gmail. That's bollocks. Not as good as I thought.
Okay, all right. So one of the arts of AI that I'm really learning is that you have to know how to ask it in a particular way.
Yep.
And that's one of the most frustrating things about it. And you go onto a website and they're like, no, change the question so it's like this. And you're almost having to essentially program AI to be able to get a result by putting in more English than, say, Basic or C++ or whatever. But in more layman terms, being able to ask a computer system how to do something or to have an outcome. So, yeah, you've got to be able to know where to do it, how to do it, and in what way you ask. And what it actually will produce will depend on how well you've worded it, which is a pain in the bum.
Oh, hang on a minute. I think that it might be not the number one. It might be ONE. Gmail. Find email.
Oh, Nexus One.
About
Right, okay.
Nexus ONE. Find email about Nexus One. I'm not sure how to check workspace extension based on your prompt. It may help if you try restating it. Yes, it's not doing it very well, is it? But yeah,
restate it. Ask in a different language.
I do agree with what you're saying. Yeah, there is a, but Google and all these AI engines are working towards that not being the case. So you can just ask in ordinary English, in ordinary language.
Yet at the same time, they're still pushing AI as the new thing, and they're asking you to pay into this to get to be able to adapt to working in the way that it is. It's not where it should be for them to start asking for money or looking for money.
Yeah, and Google Advanced is £19 a month. £19 a month, and that's assuming that it's actually any better than what we just did. Anyway, my experiments when I first started talking about this were working quite well, but not that long ago. They were working like for what happened in the last week or the last month or the last year even for the hospital visits. They all seem to work okay. It seems to have fallen over when I'm trying to ask it about 2008.
Yeah, okay. Even though you know the information is in there somewhere.
And if I search Gmail... if I search Gmail on Nexus One, let's see how far that goes back. Nexus One, right, 2016. No, there's so many results that it's going back way back. 2015, 2000. Oh, it's searching on. If I put speech marks around it, because it's searching on the word Nexus as well. Just Nexus One. Oh, here we go. Oh, no. Yeah, here we go. Nexus order was on the 8th of January 2010, so it wasn't 2008. So I can now tell you how much I paid. Oh, it doesn't say in that email how much it was. Nexus 1, 2008. Nexus 1, 2008. Order has shipped. Well, anyway, the point is that Gemini is not looking back far enough, I don't think.
No, it's not.
And no. I can't find that. I'm fairly sure it was 499 something though. Anyway, there you go. I think it's interesting to play with it and watch it get better.
Yeah, I've put Nexus One into my Gmail as well just to see stuff. Just going back to Tech Addicts chats about putting it in the podcast.
Oh, right.
Because we've been going since 2010.
Oh, wow. Hang on a minute. If I go to checkout, oh no, they won't let me go there. What about the tracking number? No, that's dead. Like Google goo.gl links are all dead now.
Yeah, they are.
14 years later.
Here's a link to that review I wrote. Oh, click on it. It doesn't work. Bollocks.
Right, okay.
Oh, right, that image doesn't even work.
Anyway, do let me. I mean, I put some of these not about my Google services, but this week I was playing about with Copilot as well, and that was equally doing not very well. It was. In fact, at one point it said to me, "You've had enough inquiries now. We want some money," and it wouldn't even do anything. Unlike Gemini, which at least let you still use it.
Yeah, so pay us to be able to rephrase the question you're asking over and over again to try to find an image or something. Nah, forget it. AI, waste of time. At the moment, for greedy executives. Could be good for the world, but no. They're making mountain out of a molehill. Okay, moving into the bargain basement where we have some nice things for you to buy. Ted, we're going to start with you. What do you have?
Well, the Motorola G85 has been announced and is on the way, and if it's not already here already, and so they've reduced the G84, which is I'm very impressed with the fact that most Motorola phones these days are coming out with 12 gigs of RAM. Even the lowly ones, and also some of them 512 gigabytes of base storage. But Motorola seems to be doing a thing with RAM and storage. They're saying we're going to give it all away. Anyway, the G84 is now available on Amazon for 173 quid, which has been reduced from 249 RRP, but it's often less than that. And they're offering me 5 times 34 quid a month for that. On that deal. The G84 is really, really nice device, and it is missing wireless charging only.
On the topic of the monthly payment thing, now I've made a discovery. The reason I don't get them is because I don't have a credit card on my Amazon. You have to have a backup credit card in order to qualify for those 5 monthly payments.
Do you?
And I removed my credit cards because it's just too easy. So yeah, that's why.
I've got one. I've got a credit card on there, but I never use it. But you're right, it is registered there. I always use my debit card, but yes, you're right. They've got both cards. Yeah.
It's a backup payment. You've got to have a backup payment. Yeah, and I took mine off. I've only got one payment card on there, and that's the way I wanted to keep it. But it's wore me off. I would have bought many a things had the credit card been on there, but it isn't, so I won't. But I see your Motorola, and I raise you the Honor 200 smartphone, which is a 5G phone with a 6.7-inch display, a 5,200 milliamp hour battery with fast charging, 50-megapixel triple main camera, ultra thin at 7.7 millimeters, and this is the emerald green one, obviously running Magic OS, which is quite a nice overlay, I always think, and I've always been a big fan of Honor products. I like them. This is reduced from £500 down to £357.86, which is a saving of 28%. And I think that's pretty good if you're looking for a mid-range phone. Oh, Ted's inhaling. He's about to say it's got a problem.
The one thing I'm concerned about with this listing is that nowhere could I find on that Amazon page what RAM or storage this device is. Nowhere. And I hunted high and low. Don't tell me you're going to find it instantly now, aren't you? And say, well, there it is, for goodness sake. And in fact, at one point it says it's got 15 gigabytes of
15 gigabytes of just
memory.
Seen that, yeah.
What was 15 gigabytes? That's the only indication I could get to about what actually the specs were, because this phone was released in different specs. So I don't know. Anyway, it's a good bargain, whatever.
It is, yeah, as long as it's got some RAM. It is possible that it hasn't got any. Yeah, that could happen. It's happened in certain areas of the world, I'm sure.
But one thing's for sure, it's not going to have 15 gigabytes.
No. But I imagine it's probably got 16 and then with a typo. No, it would have 12 at max.
No. It could have 16. I was reviewing a One Plus phone the other day, and that had 16 gigs of RAM, so it might have 16.
What does it show on GSM? What does the standard one have? Memory 8, 12, 16, 12 or 16. So This, storage-wise, it has...
No, it doesn't. It doesn't say the
doesn't
storage
say
either. It doesn't give any of that data, which is what I was concerned about.
Well, why don't you buy one and see what they ship to you?
And I
then
also
we'll talk about
I
it.
also read through the comments as well, and no one is mentioning anything about it. It's really odd.
Well, someone did take some pictures of ducks.
Oh, that makes up for it then, doesn't it?
It
Done
does,
it.
yeah. That's all.
Done
you need.
it.
Maybe it comes with pictures of ducks on it.
Let's see. There's a whole bunch of data here about. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention was that it's not only got fast charging. You said it had fast charging. It's got 100-watt fast charging. That's really
true.
good.
Wired, and it's got 5 watts reverse wired charging.
1,000. Right. It's got. PPI is blah blah blah. 120 hertz refresh rate. There's loads of data here, further down the page, but nothing about storage or RAM. Really odd. Right, okay.
Fair dues. What's
On your
next?
own head be it. The aforementioned Galaxy Buds 3, if you buy a set of these now, if you fancy them, and you can't wait for the Buds 3 Pro, because they've withdrawn sales, you can get 25 quid off of these at the moment. They should be 159, and you can get them for 134. These are the ones that are not in-ear canal ones, and so technically second rate. They don't quite have all the same bells and whistles, but they still look very nice. They look very Apple AirPod thingies, or whatever they're called.
Well, yes. Well, I see your earbuds, and I raise you the Sony WF-C500 True Wireless headphones. These are something similar, although they are in-ear, but they don't have that added option of being able to leave the buds inside your ears. These have been dropped in price from £55 down to £40. They are in an attractive green colour, with a little orange LED on the front as well, and they go in your ears, and then they can come out again whenever you need them to. I thought that was a fairly decent little price for some Sonys, which are a bit like Samsung.
I like the pink ones. No, they're called
do.
orange, and they look like they're salmon pink to me. I claim that in my name. They're salmon pink, and I want. If I was going to get some of these, I'd definitely get those. That's a great price, though, isn't it? Oh, look, £7.80 for 5 months. I'm being offered on those.
Okay. I can throw up in the well.
But yeah, they look really nice. What a price that is! Amazing.
Certainly
Is that? Oh,
is.
there's no. Is there? Oh, there's no ANC. Okay.
But then I think whenever it comes to those in-ear things, you don't really need them, because if you get a good set of earbud things, I forgot what they call them, but they'll keep the sound in and keep the sound out.
You're quite right. Yeah. So if you want the ANC, you've got to go up to the C700. The C700N instead of the C500, and then you're up to 70 quid. But you can't get salmon pink in those.
No.
My
So you're going to buy a set and rock around going, hey, these are the salmon ones. I did salmon with my Galaxy Tab 10.
My Marshall Acton 3 is on a bit of a sale. The other day it was 159 quid, incidentally, but it's now 199 quid. And it's reduced from 260, which is what I paid, the bastards. And they're offering me £5, 5 times 40 quid on that. So that's really nice. It's sitting in front of me. I use it all the time because I took the very wise path of attaching it to my computer. So it does all my computer sound, not in stereo. Well, it is stereo, but you can't tell. And it's just sat by my side, and it's my companion. And when I want to plug something in, I can just listen to it as well. And if I want to Bluetooth into it, I can. And it's got knobs and dials and buttons, and it's very, very physical. I love Marshall.
Yeah, up until you get the turtle box, and then this will be like it'll be in the bottom of your wardrobe gathering dust with the other 45 Bluetooth speakers you have.
You know me so well.
Right. It's lovely, and that's a really good price. I would be tempted But I'm not registering my credit card. No way. Right, next up is something a bit different. We're going with a router this time. This is the TP-Link Wi-Fi 6 One Mesh router. This is the AX 1500 megabits per second. So not all singing, all dancing, not the fastest speeds you can get, but certainly will suit most people if they're in a standard house, or if you have a relative that maybe wants to just up their game when it comes to Wi-Fi routers, and it's Wi-Fi 6. But it's a pretty darn low price of down to £65, or from £65 to £58.66, which is a saving of 10%. So it should get you fairly decent speeds, and might be a good solution if you want to just try and get rid of that router that they probably sent you from whatever company you happen to be with, Sky or BT, and you want to just drop kick it out the window. This can go in place of it and give you a Wi-Fi 6 network. Nice.
Bloody right. But an update on the Malta. It's over 2 hours now. The podcast is not over 2 hours because I turned it on 6 minutes before we started recording. But it's ticked over the 2 hour mark, which is still going. Right. The last one is the not exactly it's a bit of a stretch for technology show, but it is hot at the moment, and I've got one of these, and it's great. So I'm going to put it in anyway. The Honeywell Turbo Force Power Fan. Been reduced from 33 quid to 18 quid, and it really is ever so good. It's not, there's no fancy stuff that, like those ones we brought onto the last show, that turn round and up and down and move around. It doesn't move or do anything, it just blows air at you, and it's so strong. It's just really, really good. It's a spankingly good fan, and it's been reduced, to £18.49. £18.49 at the moment. So get your wallet out and buy it.
Is it quiet?
It's quiet enough. It's not the quietest fan in the whole world, but I mean, you wouldn't want to be podcasting with it under your feet, but no, it's not horribly noisy. Not horribly noisy like my 18-inch what's-it fan. That really is noisy.
Well, I'm liking the idea. On the back or on the stand, there are screw hooks. So you can actually mount the stand on the wall and have it blowing out from the wall.
I've never done that, but yes, it's designed to be mounted, misses, wherever you fancy.
Right, okay. Oh, that's a pretty good idea.
Look, there's a little one.
For £18.
Oh, look at that one as well, which is nearly the same price. What a con that is. There's one next to it, which is £17.99, and it's I've never seen that one before. The Turbo On The Go fan.
Oh, right, okay. So that got a battery in it then?
It looks...
USB powered.
Oh, USB powered, not battery. Right, okay. So...
What if you can plug it into
your
phone?
No, battery or USB powered, it says. So it must have a battery built in. That looks really cool. Oh, and you can hang it up. And look at those pictures of it. You can hang it up from its stand, or fold it up, or... Oh, that's really nice. I like that. I bet...
You could hang it beside your Lenovo tablet.
That's crap, though. Compared to the one that I brought to the show, the powerful one, I bet you the air coming out of that's crap. I don't know, though. There's 25,000 people that say it's got 4.5 stars.
If you hung this up, would it not be flat against the wall?
Yeah, good point.
So it's not going to have trouble pulling air through.
That's a good point, yeah. Unless that hook is on the edge of a cooker hood or something. And it dangles. Anyway, yeah, I take your point.
And probably vibrate as well if it was against the wall.
Yes, indeed.
Be even noisier. No, I like the one you've done. I might get one of those. Yeah, stick it up beside the window, hang it from the window.
I can
with those wee hangy things.
I can certainly tell you that it's really, really good. But I can't. I could do a decibel test on it if you want me to. But I think it's quiet enough for me anyway.
Yeah. No, I like that. I might get one of those at the end of the month. Maybe. Oh, good grief. Right, okay, well that about brings us to the end, and we'll just close out the show and let you get on with your lives. If you want to get in touch, we can by emailing us at gareth@techaddicts.uk. You can also find us on Twitter as well, at techaddictsuk. You can find me on Twitter too, GarethMyles. I'm also on Mastodon and Blue Sky, and I have my garethmiles.com, which has all kinds of different links on it there. Ted, where can they find you?
TedSalmon.com. That's where I hang out, that's where I do stuff, and that's where I live, apart from in MeWe. At tedsalmon.com you'll find links to all the MeWe groups that we support and do and lead and make happen, and also our audio podcasts. So tedsalmon.com is where it all happens. And if you want to buy me a coffee, I'd be very grateful. That is at paypal.me/tedsalmon, and I'll give you a big girly kiss if you do.
Lovely. All right, okay. Don't think we're going to be having too many people jumping on that. Right, okay, never mind. We'll catch us all in a couple of weeks' time for another exciting installment of Tech Addicts. Take care now.
Goodbye.